Men of Reddit, what can you acknowledge is harder for women? UTIs. My wife will occasionally get a UTI after sex and has to suffer the discomfort and the irritation of trying to get a GP appointment, UK, whilst convincing the witch of a GP receptionist that you want an appointment today. It does say on the NHS website that if you're prone to UTIs you can get a backup prescription so you can keep antibiotics on hand. It's definitely worth asking your GP about. If you do this, I very strongly recommend also keeping UTI test strips on hand and confirming that it's a UTI before taking bladder-targeting antibiotics. I had a vaginal infection for years that had the rare side effect of mimicking UTI symptoms. No health insurance, so went to Planned Parenthood for my antibiotics. I'd had UTIs before, so they'd just write me a prescription. If there's no infection in the bladder, however, those antibiotics will instead attack the bladder lining. Long story short, I ended up with interstitial cystitis once the actual infection was sorted out. Please confirm a UTI first. The vaginal infection was ureaplasma ureolyticum. I was prescribed doxycycline to resolve the underlying infection. More information in the comments. My mother told me how my birth went down. She hadn't dilated enough for me to actually get out all the way, so the doctor suggested breaking my shoulder to allow me through. Upon hearing that, my mother sneered at the doctor who suggested this and said, "You don't touch my son, cut me open down there if need be, but you don't touch my son," and they sliced her open down there. And you know what the most effed up thing was? She told me she couldn't even feel them cutting her, because she was already in so much pain. And this was her 4th time giving birth. That's when I realized that mothers are just inherently badass in that regard. Man, your mom is steel. That hurt to read. Creepy people following you. My girlfriend walked home from work sometimes. It wasn't far and it was in broad daylight. This guy drove by and asked to give her a ride. She declined, said she was almost home. When she got home, she told me about it and how he kept driving up and down the street looking at her afterwards. He followed her into the apartment complex and parked his car to watch her go into the apartment. I was obviously upset. I went out with her so she could point him out, but he had left. It was weird. I told her to call me right away if she sees him anywhere near here. Never go home if you are being followed. Call somebody, walk into a store, enter an apartment management office, and don't let the critters know where you live. Edit. Thank you, award givers. I hope no money was spent. I never had this much attention, so while I'm all awarded and upvoted, let me add. As other users pointed out, this is good advice for men in addition to women. User No Homo Bro 1 mentioned an SOS messaging system. I know I will look into enabling that feature on my phone. The app Wait Words is generally helpful for emergencies when you need to quickly convey your location to a friend or emergency services. User Doggoplex suggested being aware and noting safe zones on your regular routes and mentioned the classic women's safety strategy, walking up to random people and pretending to know them. Again, men, you can and should do this too if you feel threatened. Other users have also pointed out that carrying a lethal weapon can be more dangerous than going without because of the potential that it be used against you. I know, it's counterintuitive. There are sources in the comments below. A lot of people have responded stating they will protect their partner by fighting/beating/destroying the threat. I know of 2 men in my community who were needlessly stabbed by interacting with a violent person. One man died trying to chase a purse snatcher. The other was in the ICU for a while after trying to overpower a mugger that demanded the wallets and jewelry of him and his girlfriend. Both men were large firemen and had basic self-defense training. My advice, even if you are bigger, stronger, and smarter, never underestimate the desperate and/or crazy. It's not worth threatening a beatdown on someone who is already in a mindset to hurt or kill. Walk away, run away if you need, and get somewhere safe. Usually, just the presence of multiple people will deter a predator. Lastly, my phone auto-corrected creepers to critters, which makes them sound adorable. I'll just let that be and you can refer to this edit if it bothers you. Reddit link. I made a great friend one day when applying that technique. A man was following me all the way home from work, so I just walked past my house and into the nearest shop, which happened to be a Lebanese grocer. I straight up told the elderly cashier, who was also the owner, Why, I entered the shop and he took me into the back room where we spend the next hour smoking cigarettes and sharing life stories. He closed the shop and walked me home. It wasn't the last time that particular creep followed me home, but it was the last time I felt afraid. I knew I wasn't alone if I'd ask for help. Thank you for our friendship, Amal. You are dearly missed. What happened to Amal? The mentioned they were elderly, so they probably passed away. This is seriously life-saving information that everyone should follow. Just because they feel the safest at home doesn't mean they should go there in these situations. Public high-visibility areas are best. I had a man follow me once. I was in a restaurant picking up food. And this guy got chatting to me. I was extremely uncomfortable, but I did that woman thing of being nice because I was scared, and he kept trying to hug me. I thought if I was nice, he'd leave me alone. I mentioned the food was for my husband. So I leave and I knew he was behind me. My house was off 2 main roads and there was a small shopping center with a car park I usually cut through to get home. I'm going my route and this guy is following me. I went into the supermarket in the shopping center and calmly went to customer services, all smiling, and said, "There is a man following me. Please stand here and chat to me about anything while I call my husband to meet me." The supermarket was about 5 minutes from home and my husband was there in about 2 minutes. I felt so stupid because I was trying to be nice so he would leave me alone. I'm not nice anymore. I felt so stupid because I was trying to be nice so he would leave me alone. Sometimes being aggressive just escalates things, and that can get pretty scary too. Sometimes ignoring him entirely just seems to egg him on. There really is no winning. You're not a mind reader. Please don't ever feel bad about how you react in these situations. Yeah, I read Mindhunter by John Douglas, the book the Netflix show of the same name is based on. In it, Douglas basically says that different sexual predators are set off by different behaviors. Some are set off by a nice, overly compliant victim, and others it's the complete opposite. Unfortunately, there's no way to know for sure until it's too late. There really is no winning. You're not a mind reader. God, you're so right. Dealing with assholes is always a losing situation. No matter what you try, it's the wrong thing. They have a strategy to come at you no matter what. Imagine this but without a boyfriend that cares. Many times, to not say always, cops don't believe you and brush you away. Here in Italy a lot of women ended up tragically because despite of the huge amount of reports they never got helped. The way I think about it is this: as a man, I know not to flash my cash, wear expensive items, etc. in a bad neighborhood. In my opinion, that's advertising something that someone might want to steal. But it seems that being a woman is like always being vulnerable to that kind of attention, because the expensive item is your own body. I can only imagine how stressful that might be, even in the best of contexts. Peeing outside. Or just peeing in general because we don't got to sit down whenever we need to pee. Yeah, but I can put socks on or file my nails or text on my phone with both thumbs while I'm going, so it's a trade-off. Birth control. My girlfriend is on an implant and it makes her period hella irregular, and so she can bleed intermittently with no warning, so she'll just go to the toilet one day and be bleeding. No prediction of when it will happen. Just, hey, you're bleeding now. How long for? Wouldn't you like to know? Just so, we don't have kids we're not ready for. I'm happy to wear a condom, but it's not as safe as using something like the implant or an IUD in terms of family planning. She had to get that crap inserted into her arm with general anesthetic like a badass. And one type of birth control doesn't work for everyone. I've heard my friends talking about how they have to take the pill at the same time every day. I can't even remember to have breakfast most days. I've heard you can get injections that last 3 months and can mess with your mood even on antidepressants. And some women I know will be on birth control because their boyfriend wants it raw. The lengths they go through is ridiculous. The hormones can really mess you up as well. I used to take the usual mixed hormones pill, which gave me migraines strong enough to make me puke from pain. Switched to pure progesterone pill just to develop an ovarian cyst and depression. Now I've got the only reliable thing that doesn't contain any hormones, a copper coil, and it makes my uterus hurt as if it's being stabbed around my period time. A lot of my friends told me how the pill messed them up too. This should be talked about more often. It really should be talked about more often. I went on the pill about 3 years ago. I finally went off it recently after piecing together that a whole host of my health problems were being caused by it. The worst of the symptoms was severe anxiety and insomnia. I'm talking waking up in a full-blown panic attack at 3 a.m. and being unable to sleep till morning. It was awful. I've been off it for about 4 months and the worst of the symptoms are subsiding. However, now as an almost 30-year-old, I have the worst acne I've ever had. I've read this can last up to 18 months as your body recovers. Why did my doctor not warn me about any of this? I was on because pills for about 7 years straight. And it was always some sort of BS. Migraines, shortness of breath, weight gain, mood swings, killed my sex drive, grimacing face. I tried a few and just settled for the one with the least/worst side effects. Kind of strange that this is how the process is to decide on the right type of pill. Just didn't make sense to live like that. So I quit and have been off it all for 3 years-ish now. I feel like myself again. Bouncing back wasn't bad. I get a little acne around my period days, but I didn't fall apart. Listen to your body. And when developing male birth control, everyone is so concerned about the side effects. What about the ones we already have to deal with? The copper devil, that's what my best friend and I called it. The periods are awful. I'm convinced my uterus was basically contracting around the IUD. I don't even have bad periods or cramps normally, but I sure did with that IUD. Sometimes it hurts so bad you can't even talk. Still better than the pill for me. The pill made me want to run away from my life and weirdly suicidal. I am not suicidal, so I was rational enough to see that my thoughts were not normal. Stopped taking the pill and cried for 5 days while I reminded myself that the little thoughts going through my head telling me to disappear are estrogen and progesterone causing my body to be wildly out of whack. It was an awful 5 days. I don't think I will ever take the pill again at this point. Isn't it lovely that we would be willing to feel like we're getting stabbed in the abdomen each month just so we don't need to take the pill or get pregnant? Men genuinely have no idea. I'm not saying that to be condescending, it's just such a big issue that they do not really comprehend. I get the injections. They're also unpredictable. I had a period for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And you gain weight from the depot. I'm only on the depot because I have a lot of gyna problems, have 1 1/4 ovary left, and they refuse to take out the last part of my ovary that's causing a lot of my issues because I'm too young and I might want children. I'm almost 30 and I've never wanted children, but still I don't get choose what to do with my body. WTF? This is your health you're talking about. So a person who is terminally ill can decline treatment, as that is their right. But a woman who is experiencing many gyno problems is forced to hold on to an ovary causing these problems because she's not entitled to have a say about her own body? WTF? Yep. I've had severe endometriosis my whole life. Wasn't allowed to have a hysterectomy until I was almost 40. They brushed off my pain for almost 30 years. Unbelievable. You're a woman in severe pain, but God forbid the children. At 22, when I had my daughter, I was told any future pregnancy was high risk because I might throw a blood clot and die. Oh, by the way, you cannot go on any hormone-based birth control because you might clot and die. It took me 13 years, 9 doctors and 3 health insurances to approve my tubal ligation. Because I may want children someday, or a man I had not met yet may deign to marry me and want children. The doctor who approved it literally said that I was getting older, was fat, 145 pounds 5'2", healthy as 135, and not getting married, so he would approve it. This entire time I had a copper IUD which caused me pain and contributed to my getting fibroids, which a whole different issue. Because I couldn't be trusted to know, I wouldn't want more kids or want to clot and die. Yep. It took over 6 years of being brushed off by doctors, male and female, saying my pain was normal for females plus my bloods were normal, so basically it was all in my head. Turned out I had a 6 centimeters tumor on my ovary, that was slowly growing all those years. I then had specific blood tests taken and my inflammation markers were high. Luckily turned out to be benign, but waiting to find out if you have ovarian cancer sucked, especially when for years you were trying to get help due to pain. Getting catcalled. Specifically, I'm a guy that got catcalled a lot in high school and college. I ran distance in tiny short shorts and that's it, and got everything from whistles to honks, girls blowing kisses to guys yelling slurs out of their car windows, to gay guys slapping my ass or complimenting me. I took it in stride, none of it ever bothered me, And that kind of colored my opinion of catcalling, not that I approved of it, but that it wasn't that big a deal. Then I had a girlfriend in college, and she got catcalled while I was walking her home at night. It was a distinctly different experience. Turns out I never once felt threatened by my catcallers, but hers were definitely scary and threatening. It was a completely different experience, and really crappy and frightening. It's really scary because I know every man I meet is stronger than me. If one decides to grab me or get violent, I have little way of defending myself. I've been grabbed twice. Every man who shouts at me is a threat, because you never know who's a grabber. Male ER nurse here. I've been catcalled and grabbed multiple times at work by females, and hit on by guys. I've also witnessed female colleagues having this happen to them. There's a distinct difference between the experiences I have versus them. When it happens to me, there's always a sense of humor going on, and I've never felt, as I couldn't make it stop in a heartbeat by saying something, even if they're wasted drunk. When it happens to my female counterparts, it's absolutely threatening. If they say something, the person gets offended and keeps going, worse than before. My husband and I were talking about the problem with catcalling with his mom, and he told me I had never been catcalled. I had to remind him that he was there the last time it happened, and it was about a week ago from the current conversation. We were at an air show, and during an intermission, we ran back to our truck to reapply sunscreen. A group of guys didn't see my husband and started yelling crafty things at me while I was rubbing sunscreen all over my chest. They stopped when he came into view and said something while I took it in stride. I had to lay out to him that a group of men were yelling sexual things at me while I was seemingly alone at my truck in a mostly deserted parking lot, a field really, and that this is why I carry a maglite in the truck for all the good it does when the altercation is 1 to 5. The sad fact is that so many men are unaware of this behavior because these men simply hide it from other men. At the very least, most men are unaware of how common it is for women to be harassed. I've grown up with a mother and 2 sisters, and I learned pretty early on how dangerous and threatening life can be for women. Unfortunately, most men just learn way too late in their lives how to watch out for predatory men. Obviously, I can only speak from my own, female, experience, but I think it's a fear thing. There's the knowledge that if my catcaller wanted to, they probably could overpower me if they wanted to take it to a physical place. Sexual harassment is never okay towards any gender though, and I'm sorry you experienced it. Not to mention the creepy shy ones who stare like all the time. Some friends say it's cute, but it had to tell if they're just shy or if I should be worried. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.